It always takes me a couple minutes here to get started because when I hit the live button in StreamYards, there's a long lag on the YouTube side that I have to wait for to mute the YouTube side so I don't have an echo. And that's usually the dead space you hear at the beginning of my videos. So let's question who's the woman in the icon of my channel? Bad Diva. She's a bad diva. She's my mom. It was said that she's hot. She is. She was. The picture was taken before she got polio. And she's my icon, and I'll tell you why. She prevented me from getting polio. She had me vaccinated. You know that ugly scar on the top of her arm? But she had polio, and she was pregnant. And she had a choice to take a treatment for polio. But she would lose the baby. And she didn't want to lose the baby. She was already like pretty far along anyways. And she stood a chance of that baby dying inside of her. That she would go full term and then give birth to a stillborn or him having other complications. And she took a risk. And she accepted at the age of 22 that she would have to spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair going full term. And she would not be able to take a treatment for polio, which would help her walk with crutches. Or she would never be able to walk because she was paralyzed from the waist down. That's a picture of my mom sitting on the car right after they got married. My mom played guitar. She was an artist. After polio, and she wanted to live her life as normal as possible in a wheelchair. Now, mind you, paralyzed from the waist down. She wanted to live her life as normal as possible. And she did. She didn't let that polio or being paralyzed from the waist down set her back. She wanted to go to movies, just like the rest of the world. She loved entertainment. So she went to a movie theater after she spent a year and a half in the hospital. And when she went to the movie, she couldn't get out of her wheelchair into the seat of the movie theater. So she parked right next to the seat, as close as she could get to the seat in the aisle. And the aisles are quite wide in the movie theater. And they kicked her out. They said she was a fire hazard in the aisle. Well, my mom has a strong will. I follow in her footsteps. I don't resemble the Native American side of the family like she does. I take after my dad's side, the German side, but her strong will made her become an activist for people with disabilities. My mom was one of the voices that spoke up to public communities about getting wheelchair ramps put on the corner of sidewalks, making public places handicap accessible. She became an activist. That was before I was born. After I was born, she was still an activist about it. But it wasn't be until the 70s that our city actually had all the sidewalks done with wheelchair ramps in the curbs. That they made it a law that if you have a public place to be handicap accessible for your patrons, to get into the bathrooms and have that big stall, usually down at the end of all the stalls, there's the big one where you can fit a wheelchair in. My mom was part of the voices who did that for people with disabilities when they called her a fire hazard. She was just one of the voices, but she became so active about it and she never gave up. That's the woman in my icon. That is my icon. She is my hero. She's not above God, but she is my hero.